Hey, what's up everyone? Morey Croson here, and today we're going to be breaking down Stephen Gardiner's 31.56 in the 300 meter, and we'll start the video right now.
This is the newest edition of the Performance Lab.
Reach your individual goals. You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video. Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become. All right, so this is a breakdown I really should have done a lot earlier. This actually happened last year, and I don't even know how I missed it, to be honest with you, but there must have just been a lot going on in terms of a lot of people doing some great things in indoor track. But I want to go ahead and break down Stephen Gardiner here. He is, a 400-meter Olympic champion, world champion, is one of the best 400-meter athletes in the world. And, really when it comes to a lot of these guys, it's super important to, have a really good start. And this was a race where, there's a lot of great talent in this race. And so everyone kind of knew this was going to end up being a fast time, right? Just because of some of the guys. But when you actually watch the race, you could really appreciate how fast Stephen Gardiner's going. We'll go from this side, and this is a common thing that we see with more of these longer distance runs. Is there's a lot more of this extension in the hip and also flexion in the knee. So that stride wants to be a lot longer when we're doing the 200 meter a little bit, but definitely when you get into the 300 meter, 400 meter, you want to see a nice open stride and a long stride, so then we can be as efficient as possible in how much distance we're getting per step. I see a lot of athletes that end up being really short with their stride in these longer distance runs, and it really makes a big difference when it comes to that last 100 meters or 50 meters. And sometimes people will even reach out and try to make it seem like it's more of like a cardio thing. Like, what should I do cardio-wise to be able to, finish better, blah, blah, blah. And, not to say that it's never that case, right? Not to say that it's never a cardio issue, but a lot of times when it comes to that type of situation, the reason that you might lose it in that last 50, the last 100 meters, it might be because of the technique that you were doing for the first 150, 200 meters, and so, or 250 meters. And so when you get to that last bit, your legs are feeling a lot worse. You're, really starting to feel like you are, your legs are dying, and you think that ends up being, something that you need to be able to address by doing something with your training or strength or something along those lines, when really it a lot of the time ends up being the effectiveness and the efficiency that you have in each one of your steps. So, he's coming around the curve here. We'll get into really that last bit. I wanted to be able to potentially see the times in his cycle on the opposite side, but it didn't look like we were really able to get that. So let's go into this step here. Boom. So he's landing a little bit on the outside part of the foot there. What stands out is how straight his leg is, especially, again, this is going to be probably the last, 30 meters of the race. And so we're seeing that he's still very, very upright. He's still doing a good job of being able to get that knee up. He's not getting full hip flexion, but he's at a pretty good spot, right? If this is going to be, full hip flexion, and then, he is, right about there, about 30 degrees off. So, it's probably about 60 degrees in terms of how high he's getting his knee, but he's still extending, pulling, right? Landing at about 0.8. He might not hit the ground there. Let's say 8.3. Whoops. In terms of his foot contact. And then, again, look at how good he's absorbing through there and then transitioning right back off. He's not quite off there. He's probably ends up getting off at about 0.94, 0.95 when it comes to, that full contact. So he's probably a 0.11 to 0.12 foot contact time at the very end of his race, which is really, really good. And then, again, you could see that extension that he's getting within those hips. So he has a lot of range of motion. If we're going to go and look into the angles of his hips, right, he's really opened up within that lower body. Let's actually go with the other leg back. Okay, so we could see how opened up those legs are there. Really, we would like to see, those top sprinters get more knee drive in this position when they're at, top speed. Okay, obviously Stephen Gardner's not at top speed right now. He's not totally fresh. His legs are feeling. He's already ran, close to 300 meters at this point. So he's not getting as good of a knee drive, but we can see again, that extension's great. He's still getting a lot of range of motion, right? This is where height ends up being a big attribute, especially for those longer distance runners, and being able to have, good length really helps you out. But what is important when it comes to being able to effectively finish is we want to be able to have good flexion within that knee. And then when this knee is coming up and through, we have to be able to maintain as close a position within that heel to, that upper thigh, the hamstring as possible. The more effectiveness we have right there, now the easier we can get into hip flexion, right? Because it's typically what I see is people drop this foot straight down, which then makes it so they're not getting as good a hip flexion because now the momentum of the foot is going this way, and then they try to raise back up and then pull back underneath at that last second to be able to get that horizontal force. And that's a key reason why people will end up dying, is because they're trying too hard to be able to get the hip flexion at the end or right before foot contact. And then they have to really utilize a lot of push off with their foot, where we could see here, Stephen Gardner's doing a really good job of getting that foot up. So now he can utilize his front side mechanics to help him in being able to generate force down into the ground, and then therefore push right back off or toe off right back off in a very, very effective way to really maximize his overall results as well as his mechanics. Because at the end of the day, it's the mechanics that are going to get you there. So then we want to be able to train and understand what's going to be important in order to make it so we could have great mechanics day in and day out, right? And great mechanics race in and race out. And so the more we could start to get an understanding and some vocabulary around what are some of the things to do and what not to do, I think the better you could then make training to best improve whatever it is that you have to improve on, right? You don't want to go into, and I talk about this all the time, you don't want to end up getting into a program where you are just training just to train, right? You're just squatting just to squat, you're just, doing jumps just to jump, whatever the case may be. You should always have a specific part of your body that you're training, or a specific part of your sprint that you're trying to get better, and that's why you're doing a specific exercise. So then you could really mentally be focused on that part of the body and how you are actually utilizing it, and how you could potentially get better at utilizing it to really get the most effective results. So that's the name of the game when it comes to improving sprinting and really any type of running mechanics, right? That's going to be a super important part of continuing to make improvement, right? You might be able to get some small short-term improvement by getting a stronger deadlift, improving your vertical jump, things like that. But to get a consistent improvement, you want to be able to train in the gym specific to what it is that we want to see on the track, on the field, whatever the case may be. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. If you like the information, click that thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, you can leave those down below. We're going to continue to provide great content like this to help you in understanding sprinting mechanics and really be able to maximize your ability to run faster, get faster, and make it so you can do the best type of training regimens to make it so you can, get the most out of your training. So thanks for watching. Like always, you can check out the description for some of the options we have in terms of programs and breakdowns and things like that, ways that we could help you in improving your speed today, right? How we are able to utilize our